Have you ever wondered if someone loves you for who you are, or for what you have? This is the story of how I tested my fiancée by pretending to lose everything, and how her reaction taught me the most painful lesson of my life about who she really was. My name is Michael. I'm 32 years old, and 6 months ago, I thought I'd found the woman I was going to spend the rest of my life with. I was wrong. Let me start by giving you some context about my life. I'm a software engineer. I started my own tech consulting company when I was 26, and through a combination of hard work, good timing, and honestly some luck, it became very successful very quickly. By the time I was 30, I was making around $400,000 a year. I had a nice house in a good neighborhood, a Tesla, investments, savings. I wasn't billionaire rich, but I was comfortable. Very comfortable. I didn't talk about money much. I wore normal clothes, drove a nice but not flashy car, lived below my means. But the signs of wealth were there, if you looked. The house, the vacations, the fact that I never seemed stressed about bills. That's important context for what comes next. I met Jessica 2.5 years ago at a friend's wedding. She was a bridesmaid. I was a groomsman. Classic wedding romance setup. She was beautiful. I mean genuinely stunning. Long blonde hair, bright green eyes, infectious smile. But more than that, she seemed kind. Funny. Easy to talk to. We hit it off immediately. Danced together at the reception. Exchanged numbers. Started dating the next week. The first year was amazing. We had so much fun together. Weekend trips to wine country.
This is perfect.
Trying new restaurants, hiking, beach days. She got along great with my friends. I liked her friends. Everything felt natural and right. But there were little things, small things that I noticed but told myself not to worry about. Like how she always wanted to go to the expensive restaurants. Never suggested we stay in and cook. Always wanted designer brands when we went shopping. Would make comments about other couples like, "I can't imagine driving that old car," or "their house is so small." When I got her gifts, she'd always be excited. But I noticed the excitement level seemed to correlate directly with how expensive the gift was. She loved telling people what I did for a living. Would introduce me at parties as Michael, he owns his own tech company. Never just my boyfriend Michael. After about a year of dating, she moved into my house. I didn't ask her to pay rent or contribute to bills. I just said, "I own the house anyway. Why would you pay?" She was working as a marketing coordinator, making around $50,000 a year. Not struggling, but not wealthy either. She seemed happy with the arrangement. Very happy. Around the 18-month mark, she started dropping hints about engagement, showing me rings online, sending me articles about wedding venues, telling me about her dreams for when we get married. I loved her. I really did. So 6 months ago, I proposed. I'd been saving up for the perfect ring, custom designed, 2-carat diamond, cost me $25,000. The moment she saw it, her face absolutely lit up. She immediately took photos and posted them on Instagram, called all her friends, showed everyone at her office. We set the wedding date for next summer. She wanted a big wedding, 200 guests, destination venue, live band, open bar, professional photographer and videographer, the works. I estimated the whole thing would cost around $80,000. It made me a little uncomfortable, but she was so excited, and I could afford it. So I said yes. But that's when I really started noticing things. Planning the wedding brought out a side of Jessica I hadn't seen before. Everything had to be luxury, top tier, no compromises. She wanted a dress that cost $8,000. I suggested maybe looking at some options in the $3,000 to $4,000 range. She got genuinely upset. This is my one wedding, Michael. Don't you want me to feel beautiful? She wanted the rehearsal dinner at this exclusive restaurant that would cost $150 per person. When I suggested a nice but less expensive place, She accused me of not valuing our families. She wanted to honeymoon in the Maldives for 2 weeks. Budget, $30,000. I suggested maybe we could do a week instead to save money. She said, I've always dreamed of the Maldives. Why are you being cheap all of a sudden? Cheap. I was spending $80,000 on a wedding, and she called me cheap for not wanting to spend $30,000 on a honeymoon. That's when the doubt really started creeping in. Was she in love with me? Or was she in love with my money? I started thinking back through our relationship with fresh eyes. How she always wanted me to pay for everything, even when we were just dating. How she'd gotten used to a certain lifestyle very quickly. How she never offered to split costs or contribute financially to anything. How she'd talk about our future, but it always seemed to revolve around the house we'd buy, the cars we'd have, the vacations we'd take. Never about building a life together in ways that didn't involve spending money. I realized I couldn't remember the last time we'd done something that was actually free. A walk in the park, a movie at home, just talking. Everything we did cost money, and I was always the one paying. I tried to talk to my best friend Derek about it. He'd been skeptical of Jessica from the beginning, though he'd never said it directly. Man, I don't know, he said carefully. I'm not trying to talk bad about your fiancée, but from the outside looking in, it kind of seems like she's really into your lifestyle, more than she's into you. You think she's a gold digger? I asked. Derek winced. I'm saying I think you should be sure about what you're getting into before you marry her. That's all. That conversation sat with me for weeks, and then I had an idea. A terrible, risky, probably stupid idea. I was going to test her. I was going to pretend I'd lost everything and see how she reacted. I spent 2 weeks setting up the test. First, I told my closest friends and family what I was planning. My parents thought it was a bad idea, but understood why I needed to know. Derek supported me completely. I made sure Jessica wouldn't be able to verify anything by calling my work or checking with anyone who'd tell her the truth. Then I started laying the groundwork. I began acting stressed, distracted, taking work calls that sounded serious, spending more time on my laptop looking worried. When Jessica asked what was wrong, I said, just some issues with the business. I'm handling it. After about a week of that, I sat her down for the conversation. It was a Thursday evening. We were sitting on the couch in the living room. The ring on her finger caught the light. Jess, we need to talk, I said. It's about the business. She immediately looked concerned. What's wrong? Is everything okay? I took a deep breath, committing to the lie. No, everything is not okay. I made a really bad investment decision about 6 months ago. I put a huge amount of the company's money into this crypto opportunity that my business partner convinced me was a sure thing. This was all fictional, by the way. I had no business partner. I'd never invested in crypto beyond a small personal amount. The investment completely failed, I continued. We lost almost everything. And now there's an audit, and it turns out my partner was doing some illegal stuff without telling me. The whole company might go under. I might face legal consequences, even though I didn't know what he was doing. Jessica's eyes went wide. Oh my God. Michael, how bad is it? It's really bad, I said. I had to drain my savings to try to keep the company afloat. It didn't work. I'm probably going to have to declare bankruptcy. The house might have to be sold. I'll need to find a regular job working for someone else. We're going to have to seriously downsize our lifestyle. I watched her face carefully. At first, she looked shocked, genuinely concerned. How much money do we have left? She asked. We. Interesting choice of words, considering she'd contributed nothing financially. After everything is settled, probably around $20,000, I said. I'll need to find a job fast. Probably making around $80,000 to $100,000 a year. Normal software engineer salary. Still a good salary. Many families live comfortably on less, but it was a massive drop from $400,000 a year. What about the wedding? She asked. Her voice had gotten very quiet. We'll have to scale back significantly, I said. Maybe something small. Courthouse or backyard wedding. Definitely no Maldives honeymoon. I'm so sorry, Jess. I know this isn't what you signed up for. She was silent for a long moment. I need to process this, she said finally. She stood up and went to the bedroom. I stayed on the couch, my heart pounding. That hadn't been the warm, supportive reaction I'd hoped for. But I told myself to wait. This was shocking news. She needed time to process. Over the next week, Jessica's behavior changed dramatically. She became cold, distant, started spending more time out of the house with her friends. When I tried to talk to her about the situation, she'd give short answers and change the subject. She stopped being affectionate. No more casual touches. No more kissing me hello or goodbye. Barely any conversation. She started making comments. Little cutting remarks. I can't believe you were so irresponsible with money. How could you not know your partner was doing illegal things? I thought you were smarter than this, Michael. A week and a half after I told her, she came home from lunch with her best friend Melissa. She walked into the living room where I was working on my laptop and just stood there. We need to talk, she said. I closed my laptop. Okay. What's up? She twisted the engagement ring on her finger, took a deep breath. I don't think I can do this, she said. Do what? I asked, even though I knew exactly what she meant. This. Us. Marriage. This whole situation. She gestured vaguely around the room. When you proposed, when I said yes, I thought we were building a certain kind of life together. I thought you were financially stable, successful, someone I could rely on. I'm still me, I said quietly. Nothing about who I am as a person has changed. But everything else has changed, she said. Her voice was getting sharper. I didn't sign up to marry someone who's broke, who has legal problems, who might lose his house. I have standards for the kind of life I want, Michael, and you can't give me that life anymore. There it was, the truth, finally spoken out loud. So you're breaking up with me because I lost money? I asked. I'm breaking up with you because you're not who I thought you were, she said. I thought you were responsible, successful, a good provider, and you're not. She pulled the engagement ring off her finger and set it on the coffee table. I'll move out this weekend, she said. I'm sorry, but I have to think about my future. And my future can't be with someone who's broke. She turned and walked toward the bedroom to start packing. I sat there for a moment, staring at the ring on the table. Part of me was devastated. The woman I'd loved, the woman I'd planned to marry, had just revealed that she'd never really loved me at all. But another part of me felt almost relieved. I'd had my answer, clear and undeniable. I picked up the ring and followed her to the bedroom. Jessica, I said. She was pulling clothes out of the closet, throwing them on the bed. What? She snapped without looking at me. I lied. She froze, slowly turned around. What? I lied, I repeated. About all of it. The bad investment, the bankruptcy, the company failing. None of it is true. Her face went completely white. What are you talking about? I made it all up. It was a test. To see how you'd react if I lost my money. To see if you loved me for me, or for what I could provide for you. She just stared at me. And you failed, I said. Spectacularly. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then her expression changed. Shock turned to anger. Are you kidding me right now? She said, her voice rising. You lied to me? You made me think we were going to lose everything as some kind of sick test? A test you failed, I said again. You literally just broke up with me because you thought I was poor. That's not fair, she shouted. You blindsided me with horrible news and expected me to just be okay with it. Do you know how stressful this week has been? How hard it was to process losing the life I thought we were going to have. The life, I said, not the person. You were upset about losing the lifestyle, not about what I was supposedly going through. That's not true. Isn't it? In the entire week since I told you this fake news, you never once asked me how I was feeling. Never offered emotional support. Never said we'd get through it together. You just got cold and mean and distant. And then you dumped me. She opened her mouth, closed it, couldn't seem to find words. If you'd reacted with love and support, I said. If you'd said we'd figure it out together, that money didn't matter as long as we had each other. I would have told you the truth immediately. But you didn't. You showed me exactly who you are. Tears started running down her face. Michael, I'm sorry. I just panicked. I wasn't thinking clearly. If you'd given me more time to what? To talk yourself into staying with a broke guy? That's not love, Jessica. I do love you, she insisted. No, I said. You love what I can give you. That's not the same thing. I held out the engagement ring. The wedding is off. I'll give you until the end of the month to move out. That should be plenty of time to find a place. Michael, please, she said, reaching for me. Can't we talk about this? I made a mistake. I was scared and overwhelmed, and I reacted badly. But I love you. I really do. I stepped back from her touch. If that's true, you have a funny way of showing it. I turned and walked out of the bedroom, out of the house, got in my car, and just drove. The next few days were hard. Jessica tried everything to fix it. She texted constantly, called, left voicemails, sent me long emails explaining how she'd just panicked, how she'd realized she was wrong, how much she loved me. She showed up at my office twice. I had security escort her out. She got her friends to call me and vouch for her. They all said the same thing. She was devastated. She'd made a terrible mistake. She deserved another chance. My response to all of it was the same. No. Because here's the thing. Even if her panic was genuine, even if she really did love me in her own way, she'd shown me her true priorities. And when push came to shove, when she thought the money was gone, she'd left. That told me everything I needed to know about what our marriage would have been like. The first time things got hard, the first real challenge we faced, she'd bail. I couldn't build a life with someone like that. Jessica moved out 3 weeks later. She tried one more time on moving day, stood in the driveway with tears streaming down her face, and begged me to reconsider. I know I messed up, she said. I know I failed your test. But people make mistakes, Michael. People panic and say things they don't mean. Can't you forgive me? Can't we try again? I looked at her. This woman I'd thought I'd spend my life with. I could forgive you, I said, but I can't forget what you showed me about who you really are, and I can't marry someone I don't trust. She got in her car and drove away. I watched her go and felt a complicated mix of emotions. Sadness, relief, anger, regret, but underneath it all, certainty. I'd made the right choice. That was 6 months ago. Jessica tried to contact me a few times in the months after. I never responded. I heard through mutual friends that she's dating someone new. Some guy who works in finance. Makes good money. I'm happy for her, I guess. I hope he knows what he's signing up for. As for me, I'm doing okay. The heartbreak was real, even though I know I dodged a bullet. I genuinely loved her. Or at least, I loved who I thought she was. I've been focusing on work, spending time with friends and family, going to therapy to process everything and figure out what I want in a partner. And I've been thinking a lot about trust, about the difference between loving someone and loving what someone can provide, about tests and honesty and whether what I did was right or wrong. Some people have told me I was wrong to test her, that lying to your partner is never okay. even if it reveals the truth. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should have just trusted my instincts and broken up with her when I first started having doubts. But I needed to know. And now I do. I know that Jessica didn't love me enough to stand by me when she thought times were tough. I know that her vision of our future was based on money and status and lifestyle. And I know that whoever I end up with, they need to love me for who I am, not what I have. A few weeks ago, I started dating someone new. Her name is Amanda. She's a teacher, makes $45,000 a year, drives a 10-year-old Honda, lives in a small apartment, and she's amazing. She's kind and funny and smart and passionate about her work. She doesn't care that I own a tech company or make good money. She's never asked me to buy her anything or take her somewhere expensive. Last week, she invited me over and cooked dinner at her apartment. We ate pasta she made from scratch and talked for hours. It cost her maybe $15 in groceries. It was the best date I've had in years. I'm not ready to get serious yet. I'm still healing from Jessica. But Amanda gives me hope that there are people out there who will love me for me. People who won't run when things get hard. People whose love isn't conditional on my bank account balance. So here's my question for all of you. If you suspected your partner was only with you for your money, would you test them like I did? Or would you just trust your instincts and walk away? Was I wrong to lie to Jessica to reveal her true priorities? Or was this the only way to know for sure before I made the biggest mistake of my life? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Not the asshole if you think I did the right thing by testing her. You're the asshole if you think I should never have lied, even to expose the truth. Everyone sucks here. If you think both Jessica and I handled this badly. No assholes here. If you think this was just a sad situation with no villains. And if you've ever been in a relationship where you weren't sure if someone loved you or your money, share your story. You're not alone. Thanks for listening. Subscribe for more real stories about relationships, money, and the complicated truth about what people really value. See you in the next episode. I want to tell you about what happened after Jessica left, because that's when things got really interesting. About 2 months after the breakup, I was at a coffee shop working on my laptop when someone tapped me on the shoulder. I turned around and saw Melissa, Jessica's best friend. "Michael," she said, "can we talk?" I gestured to the empty chair across from me. "Sure." She sat down, looking uncomfortable. "I need to tell you something," she said. "About Jessica. Something you deserve to know." I waited. "I was with her when you told her about the money problems," Melissa said. "She called me right after. And she told me that she was thinking about leaving you even before all this happened." That surprised me. "What?" "She said she'd been having doubts for months, that you weren't ambitious enough, that you were comfortable with the company you had instead of constantly growing it. She wanted someone who was going to make millions and millions, not just a few $100,000. Melissa looked genuinely uncomfortable sharing this. She told me she was waiting to see if you'd get a big investor or sell the company for a huge payday. And if you didn't, she was planning to break up with you after the wedding and take half of everything in the divorce. I felt my stomach drop. "Are you serious?" "I wish I wasn't," Melissa said. "I told her she was being horrible, that you were a good guy who treated her well, but she said I was being naive, that men with money are a dime a dozen, and she needed to position herself for maximum financial security." "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Because after you exposed her, she tried to paint herself as the victim," Melissa said. "She's been telling everyone that you emotionally abused her by lying, that you manipulated her, that she's traumatized by what you did." Melissa leaned forward, and I couldn't let that stand. "You saved yourself from making a massive mistake. She was using you, Michael, and I'm sorry I didn't warn you sooner." I thanked her for the information, though honestly it just made me sad. Even worse than I thought. My parents had been skeptical of Jessica from the beginning, though they'd tried to be supportive for my sake. When I told them about the test and the breakup, my mom actually teared up with relief. "Thank God," she said. "Michael, that girl never looked at you the way someone in love should look at their partner. She looked at you like you were a prize she'd won." My dad, who's usually pretty stoic, hugged me and said, "I'm proud of you for trusting your instincts." A lot of men would have ignored the red flags because she was beautiful. They told me that they'd noticed how Jessica always steered conversations toward money and material things, how she'd ask them questions about their investments and retirement accounts, which seemed inappropriate, how she'd make comments about upgrading their car or their house. She was sizing up the whole family, my mom said, making sure we were all financially sound. It was very transactional. Hearing that from them validated everything I'd felt. Derek, my best friend, was the one who really helped me process everything. "Here's the thing," he said one night over beers. "You didn't do anything wrong. You suspected something was off, and you tested your theory, and you were right." "But I lied to her," I said. "A lot of people say that makes me just as bad." "Does it?" Derek asked. "If someone is pretending to love you when they really just love your money, and you expose that lie by creating a scenario that reveals the truth, are you the bad guy?" I thought about that. "It's like," Derek continued, "if you suspected someone was stealing from you, and you marked some bills and caught them red-handed, would anyone say you were wrong for setting up that test? No. They'd say you were smart for protecting yourself." "But relationships are supposed to be based on trust," I said. "They are," Derek agreed. "And she broke that trust first by pretending to love you for you, when she really loved you for your wallet. You just confirmed what you already suspected." That helped. A lot. The dating process after Jessica has been interesting. I'm a lot more cautious now, more aware of red flags, more willing to trust my instincts when something feels off. I went on a few dates with women who clearly Googled me before we met. They knew about my company. They asked very specific questions about my success. They suggested expensive restaurants. I didn't see any of them a second time. Amanda was different from the first conversation. We met at a bookstore. I was browsing the business section and accidentally knocked over her coffee. It spilled all over her shoes. I apologized profusely, offered to buy her new coffee, new shoes, whatever she needed. She laughed. "They're $20 Target shoes. I think I'll survive." We started talking. I asked what she did. She said she taught 4th grade. "That's amazing," I said. "Teachers are heroes." She smiled. "Well, we're definitely not in it for the money." We talked for an hour, about books, about education, about her students, about life. Not once did she ask what I did for a living. Finally, I brought it up. "So, what do you do?" she asked. "I own a tech consulting company," I said, watching her reaction carefully. "Cool," she said. "Is it fulfilling work?" Not, "How big is the company?" or "How much do you make?" or "What kind of clients do you work with?" Just, is it fulfilling? I fell a little bit in love right then. I told Amanda about Jessica early on. Not the first date, but within the first few weeks of seeing each other. I wanted her to know why I might be a little guarded. Why I might ask questions that seemed to be testing her. Why I was cautious about moving too fast. She listened to the whole story without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "That must have been really painful," she said finally. "To realize someone you loved didn't really love you back." "It was," I admitted. "Can I ask you something?" Amanda said. "Sure. Do you think what you did was right, testing her like that?" I'd thought about this question a lot. I think it was the only way to know for sure. I could have just broken up with her based on my suspicions. But then I'd always wonder if I was wrong. If I'd thrown away something real because of my own insecurity. Amanda nodded thoughtfully. I get that. But for what it's worth, I don't think you should have to test someone you're in a relationship with. Trust should be the foundation. I agree, I said. But what if your instincts are telling you the trust isn't there? Then you probably already have your answer, she said gently. That hit me hard. She was right. By the time I decided to test Jessica, I already knew deep down that she wasn't the right person. I just needed concrete proof. I promise you, I said to Amanda, I'm not going to test you. I'm done with that. I'm just going to trust my instincts. And right now, my instincts are telling me you're someone special. She smiled. Good, because my instincts are telling me the same thing about you. I want to be clear about something. I'm not saying all women are gold diggers, or that anyone who wants financial stability in a partner is a bad person. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be with someone who's responsible with money, who has a stable job, who can contribute equally to building a life together. Jessica's problem wasn't that she wanted financial security. It was that she wanted luxury funded by someone else's work. She wanted to live an expensive lifestyle without having to earn it herself. And more than that, she was willing to fake love to get it. That's the part that really hurt. Not that she cared about money, but that she'd lied to me for over 2 years about what she really felt. Every time she said, I love you, what she really meant was, I love what you can give me. Every time she talked about our future, she was really talking about a lifestyle, not a partnership. I'd been in love with someone who never really existed. Just a performance designed to secure her financial future. Sometimes people ask me if I regret the test. The honest answer is no, I don't. Yes, it was painful. Yes, it ended my relationship. Yes, it was a lie. But it also saved me from making the biggest mistake of my life. If I'd married Jessica without knowing the truth, one of two things would have happened. Either I would have stayed successful, and she would have stayed with me while secretly resenting that I wasn't making more money. She would have pushed me to take bigger risks, make more, spend more, always chasing the next level of wealth. We would have been miserable. Or something would have actually happened to my money, and she would have left anyway. Except then, we'd be married. And it would be even more complicated, and expensive, and painful. The test gave me information I needed. It showed me who she really was before I made a legally binding commitment to her. That's not something I regret. My therapist has helped me process a lot of this. She said something that really resonated with me. You weren't testing Jessica's love. You were testing whether the person you thought you knew actually existed, and you found out she didn't. That's exactly it. I wasn't trying to trick her or trap her. I was trying to find out if the woman who said she loved me would still love me if the money went away. The answer was no. And that's painful, but it's also valuable information. Now I know what real love looks like. It looks like my parents, who've been together for 35 years through job losses and health scares and all kinds of challenges. It looks like my sister and her husband, who got married when they were both broke grad students and built their life together from scratch. Real love doesn't run when things get hard. It doesn't calculate the financial cost benefit of staying in a relationship. It doesn't see a partner as a resource to be extracted from. Real love sees a person, a whole person, not a bank account. I'm dating Amanda now, and it's completely different from what I had with Jessica. We do cheap things, free things. We go hiking. We cook together. We watch movies at home. We volunteer at her school's reading program. Last week, we spent a whole Saturday at the beach. We packed sandwiches and spent $0 except for parking. It was perfect. She doesn't care that I own a company. She doesn't ask about my finances. She doesn't hint about expensive gifts or fancy vacations. When I offered to take her somewhere nice for her birthday, she asked if we could go to this taco truck she loves and then walk around the botanical gardens. Total cost, $25. I've never been happier. So yes, I tested my fiancée by pretending to be broke. And yes, she failed. But honestly, I'm grateful. Better to find out before the wedding than after. Better to know the truth than to live in a comfortable lie. Jessica showed me exactly who she was, and I'm grateful I was paying attention. Now, I'm building something real with someone who sees me, not my bank account. And that's worth more than all the money in the world. Thanks for listening to my story.